One gun owner heard voices telling her to kill the president. Another mused about shooting up a school.
But neither of those crimes happened, thanks in part to Minnesota's new red flag law. A WCCO investigation found that 140 extreme risk protection orders were filed last year. That is when authorities temporarily take away someone's guns. Tonight, senior investigative reporter Jennifer Mayerle digs into how the law is working and why confiscating weapons might not be enough.
A mental health crisis can touch any family at any time. Just ask DFL Representative Ethan Chaw.
It's a family member, so it's emotional because you're thinking worst case scenario, right?
A relative wasn't acting like themselves, and Chaw stepped in to help. He says he knew when the situation escalated, guns needed to be removed from the home.
Being in a community where we've seen a lot of gun violence, I happen to have the foresight to understand the possible scenarios that could happen if there was firearms in the house. So that was a utmost priority.
While his family navigated the situation on their own, he hopes others utilize Minnesota's new red flag law, which he voted for. It allows family members, law enforcement, and a county or city attorney to ask a court to temporarily take a person's guns away or prohibit someone from buying one.
I think this is a valuable piece of legislation that will save lives.
We read through all 140 petitions filed in year one. Most were filed by law enforcement for white men. Women accounted for 7%. All public petitions involved a fear of self-harm or harm to others. 44% lasted the maximum of 1 year. Another 30% lasted the minimum 2 weeks. Few were dismissed. Bloomington Police became the first law enforcement agency to file in Hennepin County. The department sought a total of 3 in 2024.
There's a lot of people that our officers deal with on a day-to-day basis that are in, mental health crisis. It is the extreme ones that they have access to weapons.
Sergeant Brant Richardson says one person was hearing voices. Another thought the government was after them. A man threatened to kill his neighbors in the one he filed. In each case, guns were in the home.
We're not out there, trying to take people's weapons from them. This is another tool that we have that we can use to hopefully take those firearms away for the time being.
Researchers are paying close attention to the data.
These cases were just a lot more kind of emotional and hard to read than I anticipated.
Dr. Jillian Peterson is the executive director of the Violence Prevention Research Center.
There have been threats of violence to a school. There's been individuals maybe experiencing psychosis for the first time and thinking people are after them and living in a busy apartment complex and firing guns, which can be really dangerous. There's women whose ex-partner is actively trying to murder them and they're terrified.
One petition was granted for a man walking down the street with a gun having hallucinations. Police found bullet holes in a wall in his home and recovered 47 guns and 600 pounds of ammo. Another was approved for a mentally ill man who previously expressed interest in carrying out a school shooting and made threats against himself and family members.
There's so many warning signs. Especially if we look at school shooters, 91% of the time they tell somebody that they're planning on doing it. And so people know this, but it's not a crime to say you're thinking about doing something. And so law enforcement's hands are tied in a lot of these cases. And so I think having a resource to get firearms away from that person just in that moment of crisis. We know you should not have immediate access to firearms in that moment.
Do you think this has the ability to save lives?
100%, I think it has the ability to save lives.
Dr. Peterson believes a critical question is what happens after the guns are taken away. Are people in crisis offered services? And if so, how do you track progress?
And unless you're getting them access to the treatment that they need, whatever it is to get you through that crisis, we need to make sure that's also happening at the same time of removal.
Bloomington Police says it has social workers who connect with any person with a red flag order.
They start working on how can we help this person? What can we do to make this situation better?
Representative Chaw says conversations are happening with lawmakers about how to create more awareness around the law and how to best offer support after guns are removed.
How do we follow up on these cases that have been filed? Who does it? who is responsible for it, and how do we provide support for those that need it the most, right? And that is something that I think we all need to work on and identify.
Jennifer Mayerle, WCCO Investigates.
Police say if you or someone you know is in immediate danger, call 911.
We've posted resources on WCCO.com, including more information on who can file an ERPO and how to do it. If you're struggling, call or text 988 to talk to a real person. It's free and available 24/7, and you can remain anonymous.